variety of fish, oysters, shrimp, crab legs, live blue crabs, a steam bar, and more. They'll even clean your catch for you. Open 7 days a week near the intersection of Beck Avenue and Highway 98. Don't forget to mention 104.3 ESPN for your 10% discount. Visit Buddy Gainey Seafood Market on Facebook.
As a realtor, it's important who you choose as your title company. May we suggest South Oak Title? Their offices are modern, comfortable, and state-of-the-art. South Oak Title can close transactions in any location in Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Their free mobile app allows realtors to deliver a net sheet in seconds. They provide mobile closing services to accommodate buyers and sellers. Their offices are beautifully decorated, state-of-the-art, complete, safe, and secure. South Oak Title, creating a better title and closing experience through technology and tailored service. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Hey, there's my son.
Hey, Dad.
What's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Well, it's just sort of.
Hello, Dad.
Susan? Guys, I think it's about time to get in the car and maybe see some green things.
What are these green things you speak of?
This weekend, unplug. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DN Mariana, WVLQ Port St. John, powered by Pepsi, ESPN Northwest Florida. Rise and shine, campers. It's a brand new day.
What a lovely morning.
Good morning, starshine.
You seem happy this morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming in early.
The Coach James Hale Show is live and local. Live from the J. Michaels Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And good morning, everyone here in beautiful Bay County. It is a lovely, lovely morning outside. Brian Haddad sitting in for Coach James Hale on the Coach James Hale Show. Ethan Boyd sitting in with me today. How you doing, Ethan?
Good morning.
It's always a good day. See, you know why I'm having such a good day? Where did I go for lunch yesterday?
I saw you yesterday.
That's right. Rudy's Barbecue. Oh, I had a great time there. Staff was great. I wish I had gotten his name. He was training on the register. Nice kid. Really did a good job.
I think Dylan.
Good. Well, Dylan gets a star from me.
Good. I'll give him a pat on the back.
I do want to put everyone at ease here in Bay County, folks. I know yesterday afternoon a lot of people saw Coach Hale's car driving up towards Birmingham, and I think we crashed the internet servers down here. Everybody going on the Weather Channel going, oh, my God, is there a hurricane coming? You know, anytime Coach Hale, anytime Hale starts heading north, people start freaking out. What does he know that we don't on the weather? But no hurricane coming. Coach Hale's going to go up Birmingham, see his daughter, and then he's going to go over for the big Alabama-Texas A&M game, which I know Ethan's got a vested interest in as well.
He told me he was going to call in today.
He is. He's going to call in, do his
But he's said that before.
Well, you know, he'll call in. I'm sure we're going to have other people calling in. Look, if you want to call in, you can call us right here at 215-5006. New number here while we got all this transition going on. Again, that number, 215-5006. If you want to call in, talk about games coming up this weekend, you want to talk about anything, you want to talk about bonfire explosions, we can talk about good gracious. Did you guys see that video?
I didn't see the video. I heard the story, but
oh my God, I saw the video. It was something else. So Mosley High School, homecoming coming up tonight, actually, and we're going to talk to Coach Whidden here in the next segment about that game. But so they set up like you see. Yeah. Often with these things, they have a big bonfire, and it's a whole lot of stuff set up there, and the guy comes over and throws the flame in there.
I heard it was hard to get lit at first.
And then there was a couple seconds, and then it is quite an explosion. I can't remember which of the local news channels had the video, but one of them has it. Go and see it. It's scary. Everything was okay. They had fire safety people there on, everybody was back far enough and all like that, but it was certainly a little disturbing. But, those things, as they say, when you play with fire.
Yeah.
So, but fortunately, nobody was
injured. When you play with fire, you wet the bed that day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was always told.
It was something else. But, hopefully that's just the sign of the explosion the Mosley offense is going to have tonight. And again, we'll talk to Coach about that later. Let's talk about a few other local things. And I got a couple of general news stories I want to get your guys' thoughts on, but high school volleyball in the area, Liberty 3, Alpha 0. In fact, we had 3 sweeps here last night in the area. Mosley Dolphins 3, FSU 0. Of course, not the Seminoles, but FSU. And then Gulf Breeze 3, South Walton 0. So girls getting it done there in volleyball. I know they're starting to get closer toward the end of the season, so this is the time of year that you want to be peaking. For swim, I was actually out there helping them run this meet last night, a rare Wednesday night swim meet. Mosley ended up winning both the men's and the women's. North Bay Haven actually took second in both last night. Arnold was third and Bay was fourth. Now they have the swim county championships next Thursday.
Mosley's got a heck of an athletic department all the way around.
They do. And you know, Coach Lee, the AD out there, obviously he's particular towards baseball, and everyone loves football when it comes to athletic departments. But Coach Lee does a great job of making sure that all of the sports out there are taken care of, well-funded, planned, and everything like that. They hire great coaches there, and they do a really good job. But the county swim championships are next Thursday. The dive will be on Wednesday, and then they move into the state series after that. Now, it's a little odd with swimming. The different classes go on a different 3-week schedule. So the 3A and the 4A schools will start their district championships in 2 weeks. And that Mosley is 3A. Arnold, North Bay Haven, Bay are all 2A schools. They will be 1 week after that. So they'll start their districts in 3 weeks. And it goes district 1 week, region the next, and then the state championships the next. So we'll have kids going on slightly different schedules once we get past county, but good luck to all the local volleyball players, swimmers, divers, everything with the fall sports. Of course, we've got football kicking off for the weekend tonight. Let's talk about the schedule of games this week. Navarre is coming over here to play Mosley at Tommy Oliver tonight.
Navarre got a good team.
They do, and always have good athletes over there at Navarre.
They won last week, right? Navarre did.
I believe that's correct. I need to go back and look. I looked at so many schedules, I'm getting them crossed up.
Easy to do.
Mariana, of course, got our listeners in 102.1 up there in Mariana. They're coming down to play Bay. Whew. Not many teams I'd want to play less right now than Bay High School. Coach Brown's got it rolling over there. That'll be at Tommy Oliver on Friday. Rutherford heads across the bridge. They're going to play Arnold Friday over there at Arnold Stadium. Bozeman is making the trip to the new Destin High School. They're going to play over there on Friday night. Vernon, they got the tough task of going over to Port St. Joe, playing those guys down there on Friday. All of our St. Joe listeners on 101.9. And then Choctawhatchee is at South Walton, also on Friday night. So that's what's going on locally. Lots of great sports, lots of good local action going on there. Let's get around the world of football here and news in general. John, I saw this break today, and we'll probably talk more about this when we get into our picks, but Kentucky's quarterback, Will Levis, of course, all world, everybody's saying he might be the third quarterback picked behind Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Of course, that's pretty
what
solid.
They said last week.
Yeah, and he's talented, despite the fact that not all of his fingers are pointing in the same direction after that Ole Miss game.
Oh, that hurt, man.
Oh, it was ugly. Well, he's now been listed as questionable for the South Carolina game this weekend, and not because of the finger injury.
Well, when do you think we'll know why he's questionable?
5 minutes before the game. I mean, if Stoops is like all the other SEC coaches, but how does this change your opinion of the game this weekend? Obviously, quarterback's key. What do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, I mean, it is South Carolina, so I feel like even with a backup, Kentucky should play well. Their backup came in for a few snaps against whenever he got whenever they thought he had the concussion. So I mean, I feel like even with a backup, it'll be a closer game. But I still think Kentucky's the better team. But I don't know. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they sat him just because it is South Carolina, and he's taken some shots this year already. So, and they need him for the second half against Georgia, obviously.
I think I saw a stat where he's been sacked 17 times through 5 games.
And he runs.
That's unbelievable.
And he runs the ball hard.
Right.
I mean, you know, he had those key fumbles against Ole Miss, but I mean, every one of them was he was taking shots.
Yeah.
So I mean, I need holding the ball, but at the same time, like I mean, it wasn't like he was just losing it on his own. So
you know what's interesting about Kentucky? Of course, everybody came into the season. Now, granted, Rodriguez did not play until last week, but Kentucky is still, in fact, now that, thank you, Jimbo, for letting Mississippi State run the ball last week. Kentucky has the worst rushing attack in the SEC. I mean, you could have made big money going into the season on that. They're rushing the ball for about 87 yards a game, which is unbelievable.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, that's their strength.
Now, and they're going to need to rely on Rodriguez, especially if Levis can't go. But, yeah, that was a bit surprising, and you wonder about a Kentucky team. I mean, could this be one of those letdown games? I mean, obviously they had high hopes. They should have won that game against Ole Miss. Yeah. They really should have.
Yeah, they were the better team.
So you're coming out of that, you know, you're obviously a little depressed coming out of that game. A game that you know you should have won just stings.
Well, I think that game was lost simply because of the coach's calls that he made. Yeah, he took some chances, but they didn't work out. I would have went with the sure thing. I had flashbacks of the Bengals last year playing the Super Bowl when they went for the 2-pointer and they didn't get it and ended up losing by a point.
Yep.
So, you know, I think that the Kentucky game Sunday will be a coach's game, if there is such a thing. That it'll be decisions made by the coaches to work your strengths and defend your weaknesses.
Yeah. Well, we all know that I like to look at the lines, you know, for entertainment purposes only, of course. Not that I'm driving anywhere Saturday at all or anything, but I wonder how much this will affect the line, because you would think it would have to.
Yeah, it'd change
obviously
it for
with
sure.
Will Levis, so maybe I wish I would have gotten a bet down earlier. Who knows? Well, let's talk about something else, because I'm dying to get y'all's opinion on this. So the game the other night between the 49ers and the Rams, we had, as is becoming way too commonplace, you know, the days of Morgana the Kissing Bandit are over. Now we have to get all the political radicals who run out and talk about eating meat or climate change or, you know, whatever nonsense that they're spewing that day and age to make themselves the focus, not the game. But we had a protester run out on the field with his little smoke bomb and this, that, or the other, and evade security.
Okay.
And then one of the Los Angeles Rams safeties, I want to say it was, decided to light him up.
No, Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner. That's right. Bobby Wagner. Lit him up.
Yep.
And it wasn't the worst hit I've ever seen, but he made sure he knew. And now that protesters decided to file charges on this. So obviously we know legally he can file charges, but guys, what's your opinion? What should happen here on this deal?
No, I mean, there's no way. You know what I mean? Like, reality of it is, like, he can be getting sued for getting on private properties, you know, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, he's not supposed to be on the field.
Inciting a riot.
So, I mean, I think he could be obviously countersued for something. But no, the idea that a football player would get sued for, you know, helping the security stop the guy, that's crazy. I mean, I think it's going to be dropped.
Well, as we were talking before, I have been hit multiple times because I work for CBS and Fox for Cincinnati Bengals football games and Cincinnati Reds. And if that player, what was his name?
Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner. Yeah. If he wanted to take that guy out and put him in the hospital or even end his life, it would have been very easy for him to do, because when they hit you, it takes everything out of you. I've been hit. I know it for a fact. And they can gently hit you. But the thing of it is when you walk on that field, every game that I worked for CBS and Fox, I signed a waiver that says, you know, when I got my black eyes and my bloody noses working those games, and I did, you know, I couldn't sue anybody.
Yeah.
I couldn't sue the network. I couldn't sue the Bengals. I couldn't sue, say, the Steelers or whatever. You sign a waiver. So if that guy didn't sign a waiver, then he shouldn't be on that field.
Yeah.
So
he'll certainly have charges like at the very least criminal trespass and things like that. But you know, if I'm Bobby Wagner, I have fun with this. I would say, first of all, look, he did. He ran right toward Wagner.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was trying to hit Wagner, but it's not like Wagner went out of his way. He made maybe 1.5 steps to tackle this guy. So it wasn't like he ran across the field to light him up.
That could have.
If I were Bobby Wagner,
threatened Wagner.
Well, that's the
thing.
thing.
Said, hey, that was a weapon.
I
to
would
me.
have fun with it because now look, a lawyer will actually argue that with a serious face.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to cut down lawyers. I'll do that later. But they would actually argue with a serious face. Well, this could have been whatever. If I'm Bobby Wagner, I have fun with it.
Yeah.
First, I say, look, I felt threatened. Look, I'm at my workplace. I felt threatened. The other thing I say is, I think I'm going to sue him. It kind of hurt my shoulder when I hit him. Yeah. And I have emotional distress.
That's right. There you go. Now every time I'm on the field, I can't keep my mind on the game because I think there's.
If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you run onto the field, you should feel lucky they don't take your head off.
Oh, yeah. And it's possible.
And look. Anyway, before I get into trouble, let's just say he got what he deserved, and he shouldn't get a penny out of Bobby Wagner.
No.
All right, well, I'll tell you one place you won't suffer emotional distress, and that is at J. Michael's Restaurant. I know they were packed out yesterday on Spaghetti Day. Of course, I had my turkey sandwich yesterday, so I'll have to get a double order of spaghetti next week to make up for it. But J. Michael's, they've got the coldest beer you're going to find anywhere on the beach. Best seafood right down there at the end of Thomas Drive. You will have an absolutely wonderful time. Blue Sky Express Car Wash. Look, I don't want to jinx anything. We haven't had rain. It has been gorgeous. You need to go get your car looking good, and there's no place better to do that than Blue Sky Express Car Wash. They're right over there by Arnold High School and Home Depot on Back Beach Road. They will get your car looking showroom ready. They even made my car look good. That's how good those guys are. Now, they couldn't take the dents out of it,
right,
but,
everything else,
I was going to say, what about that quarter panel?
Look, I'm working with them on that, but right now, it just looks beautiful, other than that one little spot. And then, of course, like I said, the man's here himself. I can attest to it yesterday. Rudy's Barbecue. Ethan, what's going on down at Rudy's?
Yeah, just it's October, so we had breast cancer awareness, our pink cups.
I got my cup for a cause yesterday.
So we're doing our donations, but other than that, just we're actually feeding Arnold this weekend for their football game, and then just have some other parties going on this weekend. So we're just looking forward to the weekend. And
Ethan wants all Alabama fans to come in this Saturday and watch the A&M Alabama game, right?
I don't know.
He'll do a takeout window for Alabama fans.
They can get it to go. I don't know if I want to be near the cheering. All right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back, we're going to reach out. Hopefully, we're going to be talking to Coach Tommy Joe Whidden of the Mosley Dolphins. They got a big game tonight, and let's hope that offense explodes in the game tonight, right here on ESPN 102.1 Marietta, 104.3 Northwest Florida, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe.
For 5 years, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida has been the undisputed
and still undefeated
leader for sports on the Panhandle, with engaging sports talk from national and local hosts, play-by-play with the Atlanta Braves, the Auburn Tigers, college football, and the NFL. Plus, we're 850 strong with feeding families for the holidays at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thanks for 5 years of broadcasting history from ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good Thursday morning. I'm forecasting another nice fall autumn day today. Mostly sunny in the mid-80s and light northwest winds. Mostly clear overnight in the low 60s. Friday's going to be mostly sunny in the mid-80s. Water temperature in the Gulf of Mexico is 81 degrees. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Dr. Chad Mitchell, orthopedic surgeon, specializing in sports medicine and joint replacement of the knee, shoulder, and hip. He serves our local athletes and our community. Southern Orthopedic Specialist has been the leader in orthopedic care for over 20 years. New patients are welcome. Call 850-769-KNEE to schedule an appointment. More about Dr. Mitchell and Southern Orthopedic Specialist is available on their website, southernorthopedic.com. Southern Orthopedic, getting you back in the game.
Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, this is Tim.
Do y'all sell bait?
Yes, we seasonally stock live shrimp, live bull minnows, live sand fleas, live fiddler crabs, earthworms, night crawlers, crickets. We also stock frozen shrimp, sand fleas, mullets, squid, pre-rigged ballyhoo, bonita, stingray, cigar minnows, Boston mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and a few other miscellaneous baits. It's worth the drive to buy premium locally sourced bait from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
His biggest fear about the zombie apocalypse is all the walking. It's the Coach James Hale Show, live from the J. Michael Studio on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, and to all of our fans in Mariana and St. Joe listening as well. We have got on the line a dial tone. I jinxed it. John, that is on me. That is my fault. But again, for all our fans listening there, 102.1 in Mariana and 101.9 Port St. Joe, we're going to try and get Coach Whidden back on the line here and talk to him about his upcoming game tonight. They have got Navarre coming over here. Navarre, always a good team. Nice for Mosley to get a home game in because they've been two tough road trips in a row. Yeah. You're going over to Wakulla and then you go over to Tallahassee to play Childs. Those are tough trips, and so it was nice to get a home game in and you know, hopefully get things back on track after a tough game last week. But Coach, we're going to get him on the line here in just a second, and we're going to talk to him about everything coming up tonight and the rest of the season and this, that, and the other with the Mosley Dolphins. We got Coach? All right,
Hello?
Coach Whidden, how you doing this morning?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing well. So as we were saying there, while I was stalling for time, getting you on here, two tough road trips in a row. I mean, those are good-sized trips to quality teams, and came up just a little bit short against Childs here in a tough-fought game. Talk about the game a little bit and maybe some guys who played well for you.
Yeah, no, we went over there. We dominated the first half. We were up 21-6 at halftime. Isaac Paul had a really good half on offense, scoring 2 touchdowns. Sammy Freitas threw the ball really well. Defense was doing a great job forcing turnovers, and then second half we let them get back in the ball game, and we just didn't execute well under pressure when the game got close. I mean, it's inexcusable to blow a 15-point lead, but hopefully it's something that we can learn from and make sure it doesn't happen again in the future.
Talk a little bit about Navarre coming over here. Obviously nice to be back home after a couple of tough road trips, but Navarre always seems to have a lot of talent, usually a lot of big boys that play over there. Talk about the challenge they present tonight coming over here to play you guys.
Yeah, no, Navarre's a really good football team. Coach Walls does an unbelievable job running his football program. They've won a lot of football games. He's been there for over 10 years now, and they got some really good players. They got a big-time D1 wide receiver. They got a young sophomore running back that's going to be a D1 guy. They got a linebacker that's highly recruited. So they definitely got some really good players, and not to mention they're a tough, physical football team. That's kind of one of the staples of Coach Wall's coach team, that they're going to be physical, they're going to be nasty, and they're going to make you work and make you get after it.
You know, it's kind of the reality nowadays, becoming more and more the issue. There's only so many stadiums, and now there's only so many officials. So Thursday night games are becoming a lot more frequent. You guys obviously have one tonight, but if I believe Max Preps, and I usually don't, it looks like you've got a couple of Thursday night games in a row here. Talk about maybe I don't know if there are any advantages or disadvantages to preparing for a Thursday game as opposed to a more traditional Friday game.
Yeah, here then starting this week and the next 2 weeks after, we play on Thursday nights. Something that we've dealt with earlier in the season. Our practice structure changes slightly. We kind of lose our walkthrough day on Thursday. So, no, we don't treat the week 2 differently. We understand that we've got to still get the same amount of work in on on a day less. So again, we're kind of used to it. We're adjust, and like you said, this is going to be kind of the new norm moving forward, as long as there's official shortages.
Yeah, you know, as a coach, you always want high expectations on your program because that means you're doing a good job. But you know, last year having the great season, coming into this year, of course, all the talk is, you know, about, you know, Mosley backing that up again, and all the idiots like me on the radio putting all these high expectations on. How difficult is it kind of managing those expectations kind of coming into a year, especially as adversity hits during the year? Is it tougher maybe having the kids dealing with those expectations, or is it tougher maybe when those expectations come from outside, like parents or, like I said, fools like me on the radio?
Well, first, nobody's expectations are higher than ours.
Right.
You know, we have high standards for our program, the way we expect to play. But it's definitely something when there hasn't been expectations at the program, and now that they are, I mean, that's something that the kids got to get used to, got to understand that now when teams see Mosley on the schedule, you're going to get the team's best shot regardless of what their record is, because teams can make a season, you know, can brag about their seasons based off beating you. So, you know, it's something that as you build a program and you go through, and the more that your kids are in the program and a part of those expectations, is something that they will get used to and accustomed to. But you, as a coach, you wouldn't want it any other way, because again, that means your program's relevant. People care. People want to win. People expect to win, because definitely been on the other side of it, and it's definitely not fun when nobody's expecting to win.
Hey, Coach, Jeremy here, back after a couple of weeks away, and I know everybody's watching social media. I'm curious as to your take on the bonfire incident last night.
Yeah. So yeah, last night before the bonfire, there was a carnival and up here at the school, and I had my two of my young boys up here, who were 5 and 7, and we were doing the carnival thing. But it was a school night, and we had a lot of homework that we needed to get done. So we dipped out a little bit early before the bonfire to head home to finish our homework for the night. And next thing you know, I'm at the house and I'm getting messages right and left of the bonfire. So I was like everybody else. I was seeing it through social media. So it was definitely interesting, and glad that everybody's okay.
Yeah, we can chuckle a little, but certainly some scary images there when you see it just happen so quickly.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we certainly hope everybody will listen, you know, to the game right here on 104.3 tonight. But we want to pack the house out at Tommy Oliver. So if people want to come out and watch this game, how do they go about getting tickets to come out?
On GoFan. All of our tickets are sold through the GoFan app. You can either download the app or go to the GoFan website and then just search Mosley High School, and a link to the tickets will pop right up. So tonight's homecoming, so hopefully there'll be a lot of excitement and a good crowd, and you know, a lot of people coming back to watch us play.
Well, like we said, Coach, hopefully all of the explosiveness tonight will be in your offense and
Yeah.
not in the bonfires.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad joke. This is why I'm a substitute, Coach.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, good luck to you tonight. Let's get us a big win here tonight and get this ship righted, and we'll talk to you again next week. Good luck, Coach.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Coach Tommy Joe Whitten of the Mosley Dolphins. Big game tonight against Navarre. Let's get out there and pack Tommy Oliver, make sure that we have a good crowd for the Dolphins. And like I said, it's homecoming, so we need to get out there and support Mosley, whether you went to Mosley or not.
Football games are fun.
Football games are fun. You know what else is fun? El Rodeo Tequila. I'm telling you, that is the best Mexican restaurant you're going to find anywhere down there on Panama City Beach. It's right across from the Navy base over there on Thomas Drive, and they have great specials all the time. They got happy hour anytime Coach Hale walks in, it's happy hour. So Happy for.
That's a nice, clean restaurant.
Yeah,
I was
it
there
is.
a couple
It's a
weeks
beautiful
ago.
place. I mean,
It
and
is.
when they have that mariachi band rolling around in there, it's well, John, you're up dancing. I'm sitting there watching TV. But it's a great place. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill. Don't forget about Dr. Chad Mitchell. After you throw out your shoulder doing the dancing, you need to go see Dr. Chad Mitchell, Southern Orthopedic Specialist. He's in here every Monday with Coach Hale talking about football and everything else. He'll probably be on the sidelines here this weekend at a couple games. He's been doing that for well over 20 years. Get out, see Dr. Chad Mitchell if you have any kind of injury. And don't forget about Chuck Tucker and South Oak Title and Closing. Look, if you're doing any kind of real estate deal, you don't want any hassles, any trouble when it comes to closing. And with Chuck Tucker, you're going to have the smoothest process there is. He deals with so many of the best realtors down here, and that's because the process is easy. So get out and see Chuck Tucker, South Oak Title and Closing. When we come back, Ethan Boyd is going to tell us how Texas A&M is going to maul Alabama this weekend. It's not even close, he says, as he's rolling his eyes at me. Right here, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, 102.1 Mariana, and 101.9 for our friends in Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Here's what's happening.
Hurricane Ian is impacting residents here in Florida right now, and we're collecting items people need immediately. Baby food, first aid, batteries, work gloves, over-the-counter medicine, diapers, toiletries, female products, and non-perishable food items like peanut butter that you don't have to cook. Items can be dropped off at our new offices on the beach, 204 Suite B, Ellen Lane. Hurricane Relief America is sponsored by Event Production, Blab TV, and ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dear past, present, and future football watchers, you know why we're here. The football season is back! Woo! That means those pregame barbecues with an ice-cold Pepsi? Totally back. Your perfectly placed football watching corner seat back and comfy as ever. 18 Sundays of touchdown scoring, Hail Mary throwing, ice-cold Pepsi flowing football action. You better believe it's back. And since that's too amazing to miss a single second's worth, Pepsi is officially giving you permission to always put football first. And when we say always, we mean always. Like when your lawn is looking less like a lawn and more like a jungle. If the game's on, then the lawnmower ain't. And those gutters you haven't cleaned, today is not their day. Or maybe those in-laws are back in town. Well, better hope they're football fans because your Sunday is completely booked. Long story short, crack open a Pepsi and don't let anything get between you and your football watching. With love, Pepsi, made for football watching. That's what I like.
When he played football, helmets had not been invented yet. Players played both sides, and quarterbacks weren't afraid of needles. It's the Coach James Hale Show, live from the J. Michaels Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Brian Haddad sitting in on the Coach James Hale Show. Coach Hale has flown the coop, but don't worry, that doesn't mean there's a hurricane coming. He just gone up to see his daughter in Birmingham and then head over to watch the big Alabama-Texas A&M game that we're going to get into with Ethan Boyd in just a second. But joining us, as you heard in the last segment, Jeremy Pridgeon is back from Europe.
Yes.
Did not cause an international incident.
No
Thank you for
incidents.
that. Talk a little about the trip. How was it?
Had a great time. First, got everybody over and back safely.
That's good.
That's success. Anything beyond that's gravy. But in Germany, Austria, Italy, Vatican City, so 4 countries, and 12 days, a lot of food, a lot of great sights. The culture of each of those countries is so distinct, and if you haven't traveled in that part of the world, it really is just beautiful in the Alps, and then you get down into Venice and Florence and on into Rome was our itinerary. So little jet lag still. We pulled 24 hours straight when we started out of Rome back to Panama City, but we were fortunate. We had a direct to Atlanta. and then had the puddle jumper down here. That third flight sometimes can be taxing when you have to stop in New York. But glad to be home, glad to be sleeping in my own bed, and everybody had a great time.
And we were talking during the break. I loved your line about how in Germany and everything's regimented and ordered and everything, and then you get to Italy and it's like the Florida of Europe. That sounds perfect to me. Well, awesome. Well, we're glad to have you back in here, and we're going to get some picks going later on.
Yeah,
but
we got some good ones.
Yeah, but right now, Ethan Boyd is going to talk to us about the Texas A&M Aggies and why they're going to start a streak over Alabama. Ethan's guaranteeing it.
Hey, we win this year. That's 2 in a row,
That's
right?
2 in a row.
Yeah,
well, what you got on A&M?
This year could be a lot tougher, I think, than last year. For one, we're not at home. It is a away game this year, so that's going to be a little bit tougher for us. Kind of the big news, obviously, Bryce Young injury is obviously the big side right now on the Alabama side. It's kind of the same thing for us. Max Johnson hurt his throwing hand against Mississippi State, so he might not play. Jimbo hasn't really said anything. Now, honestly, it's not as big as news since he's only started 2 games and Haynes King played some. But neither really one of them has looked dominating. I'm going to say it now. We might see the freshman Connor Wegman this week. And I think that's what everyone's calling for now because he is a freshman. He was the #1 recruit quarterback last year. Been there since January. And I think a lot of Aggie fans, that's like, man, the season, quote unquote, the season's over. Why not give this young man a shot and see what we have for the future?
Well, that's my question for you is what's the better path for Wegman? Is it getting him live reps this year in the anticipation of next year? Or do you worry about, in a season where obviously it hasn't gone to expectation? Do you worry about putting him in and maybe messing with his confidence, before he's really developed?
Yeah. I think it's hard. So Haynes King, he's been there. I mean, he's literally been there 3 all seasons since January of 19. And he got injured last year. I understand that. This year he didn't look great. I mean, he comes in against Mississippi State, and yes, he's having to force the ball to score points, but he still throws 2 picks in the 4th quarter. I mean, he hasn't looked good. So the idea that I think you keep giving him shots, I just don't know if that's really benefiting our team long term. Yes, we still have a lot to play for. You can't just give up on the season after 2 losses. But I still think if Connor Wegman was really this close during the spring practice and summer practice that like you were considering him being the backup, then maybe it's time you give him a true shot. And Jimbo's pretty much said that from the get-go this week on Monday. He said, we're going to treat this like a quarterback battle. If Max can't play, it'll be between who looks better in practice this week. Now, he hasn't said anything since then, but
A&M have a better shot at beating Alabama with Max or with Haynes King?
I mean, honestly, they're both very similar. They're both very athletic. I mean, just King, he hasn't thrown the ball well, and that's been the problem.
He's been really loose with the football.
Very. A lot of turnovers. And so, I mean, I don't really know if there's a good answer to that question. I mean, I think Max Johnson gives us the best chance to win if he can play. I still think he is. If he's healthy, I still think he's the best option at quarterback. I don't think Connor's better than him, but I think you can make the case that Connor would give us a spark, look better than Haynes King has so far.
Nia Smith being out for the season certainly doesn't help, but if I'm A&M, look, Jimbo's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer, and he ain't whispering the right things to him, and obviously offense has been a problem. But if I'm looking at that game last week against Mississippi State, my worry's not A&M's offense. My worry's their defense. Mississippi State did not air raid them to death. They ran the ball down their throat. Now, you understand that first series, second series. Okay, you weren't ready for that, whatever. How do you not adjust?
Yeah. Well, and he did the same thing against Arkansas, really. Durkin keeps doing the 3-2-6. And so, and basically, everyone always says it in the air raid offense, it's simple, right? You count what you got in front of you, and you just say, hey, this is now a run play. We're going to just give it to the back instead of doing the pass. And pretty much Mississippi State just said, hey, listen, I'm counting. I have more men in the box than you every play. I dare you to stop me. And they didn't. And honestly, Arkansas in the 4th quarter did the same thing to us, which scared me. We were lucky that earlier in the game they were trying to pass it more, but kind of Kendall Briles changed it, started running it, and they did the same thing. And so you can't do the same thing against Bama because they can run the football. And if they want Gibbs to get 35 carries, they'll let him get 35 carries. They have no problem letting Bryce Young throw the ball 10 times and beat you. So that concerns me a lot. I just don't know if he'll change. He's stuck to the 3-2-6 pretty much all season. And yeah, they keep saying we're going to drop safeties down, but I mean, a 300-pound lineman and a 200-pound safety. I mean, it's a little uneven matchup there. So,
yeah, going into this year's matchup, you feel like Texas A&M is more on their heels. Now, there were some hiccups going into the Alabama game last year for A&M, but you felt like, from an Alabama perspective, Jimbo had schemed Alabama for that one ball game.
Right.
And that night, everything came together. You know, they let the play clock run down to shorten the game. They were able to extend drives. Alabama played undisciplined, which was very uncharacteristic. But things lined up. You feel like A&M's on their heels this year coming in, and not quite as focused. Even and these hiccups have been more detrimental to the team. They kind of overcame them and got it back together. This team feels like it's been in free fall.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yes, we had losses last year before the Alabama game, but people weren't calling for Jimbo to be fired. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, like you said, the program wasn't in free fall when that game was being kicked off. And this week, totally different. I mean, every news outlet's talking about his contract, talking about his play calling, talking about the offense, and you got everyone is talking about it because that's something to talk about right now. And so it's, like you said, it just feels a lot different this time around than last year.
The loss to Mississippi State was almost like, oh, well, they overlooked them.
Yeah, last year it seemed like a fluke. This year it seemed dominant.
Right.
Yes. No, I agree.
And I know it's a road game for A&M, and obviously everybody in Tuscaloosa's had this game circled as well.
Right.
For obvious reasons.
I would have circled it too.
CBS primetime
right.
night game, Bryant-Denny. It's going to be an intense atmosphere. Revenge game for Saban. All of those things that you don't want to see if you're coming into town. But scheming Alabama, I think, is going to be the challenge. As limited as A&M has seemed on both sides of the ball. You make a great point about the defense. The 3-2-6. It's not going to take long to just mash him, and he will play murder ball.
Yeah, even if he wins, 21-0, he doesn't really care.
Right.
I mean, because Bryce Young, he threw it to all 10 times, but it's like Gibbs got 35 carries, and they could easily do that, and especially if they have the other quarterback and Bryce Young sits. I mean, my gosh, the quarterback running and the running back running, and we're in a 3-2-6. That's going to get ugly fast.
So I guess that's my question. If A&M's going to win this game, we'll make our picks later. I kind of have a feeling where we're all going. But if A&M were to win this game, what would be the story? How would it, what would be how it happens?
Man, I think it would be that the offense exploded. Yeah. I don't think any storyline was going to be like, oh, A&M defense holds Alabama to 7 points and wins 10-7. I think it's that we legitimately, something happens, Max Johnson throws for 500 yards, or Connor Webben comes in and just explodes the offense, and they put up, 42-35, 42-38 kind of game. I think that's the only way we win. It's offense just explodes. Jimbo just costs the game of his life. I don't think our defense is going to stop their offense and hold them to like 10 points or 14 points, honestly. Even on a good day. I think we're going to be giving up points.
Jeremy, same question.
I do think it goes into ball control and whether they can keep drives and possessions. Alabama, and I'm going to speak more into this later, Alabama's played undisciplined. They extended an Arkansas drive unnecessarily last week and basically gave 7 points away. Special teams breakdown. All of the things that happened when you went from 28-0 to 28-23 were self-inflicted, and if that type of window shows up again, while A&M is able to put together some good things, the effect of that could be detrimental. So this is not a given. A&M is big. They're athletic. They've got the parts, no doubt. All the recruiting talk through the summer was pointing toward the talent that they have. But it is also about the chemistry that has yet to come together on all facets of the game for them.
Yeah.
See, for me, I think it starts with the Bryce Young question. Mm-hmm. And here's why I say that. If Bryce does not go, what I found interesting in the Arkansas game, so when Bryce went out, Milroe came in. Milroe was still running the exact same offense. Then they came out of halftime, and you could tell O'Brien dialed back the offense.
Big time.
And I think it hampered Milroe in a way. I think he looked unsure. And Arkansas was having their way with him. I think that 75-yard run was not indicative of what was going on with him in the offense. And I think it was more O'Brien holding him back than it was Milroe not executing. So,
how many of those job openings are available for O'Brien?
Well, God knows I've tried to get Pete Golding every job that's ever existed for years. There's a lot, but that was worrisome to me. So to me, I think if anything were to happen, I think it starts there. I think if Alabama comes in with that, let's assume Bryce can't go, and they kind of tighten up the reins on Milroe to where they're afraid of him making a mistake instead of letting him play football. And then they're not, for whatever reason, and granted, we didn't see this last week, if A&M's able to stop the run, then I think they're in the ball game. But
yeah,
it's a lot of big ifs in there.
Truly, and you hit the nail on the head with the young question. Saban's playing coy with how much, how little. And he also put Ty Simpson in the conversation a little bit. Just, hey, we also got this guy.
I was starting to wonder if we were going to see Simpson in the Arkansas game because it was sputtering so badly. But
yeah, so Milroe, I think, will go just because not wanting to get Young hurt. Yeah, you got the trip to Knoxville the following week. Yeah, but I think the play selection may be a little more RPO. Get Milroe out. Let him see what he can do with his legs. If you're sitting in a 3-2-6, he'll take 7-8 yards to get out of bounds all night long.
Yes, he will.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm afraid of.
And that'll be fine with Jeremy and I, not so much for Ethan.
Yeah, it'd be a long game.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're not going to end up at Rudy's this weekend hanging with Ethan and reminding him of the score every 5 minutes, where you can watch this game is Dak Cajun Place, 75-cent wings. Coach and I were there last weekend and had a great time watching the Ole Miss Kentucky game, and it is a wonderful time. Wear your colors out there. It was so fun to see everybody coming in representing their schools, this, that, or the other. You'll get a great meal. They got TVs all over the place. Dat Cajun Place. Don't forget about Buffalo Rock. They do so many great things in this area and have for years, especially when it comes to supporting all the schools and all the local sports around here. When you're looking for a mixer or just as a standard drink there for your game, get a Dr. Pepper. Get Buffalo Rock products. You will absolutely love them and thank them for everything that they do. And don't forget Turf Pro Pest Control. Get out and see Patrick out there. It's that time of year. You want your yard looking beautiful, manicured just like a golf course. You don't want it to look like a shells and dirt old Florida yard. You need Turf Pro.
A lot of people think that wintertime, just forget about your lawn, but what you do now will save you time and money come springtime.
Right. And you feel better about yourself when your lawn looks beautiful. That's right. And Turf Pro Pest Control is the way to go. When we get back, we're going to talk some FSU right here on the Coach James Hale Show, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, Mariana 102.1 and 101.9 Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Here's what's happening.
Hey everyone, Chef Ross here. Join me for our first annual Pops Pig Pickin' Charity Barbecue, benefiting Food for Kids, in honor of my dad, Pops Ronald Robinson. Enjoy mouth-watering barbecue, mystery drink specials, and a 50-50 raffle. Pops Pig Pickin' Charity Barbecue, October 30th, 2 p.m. at the Break Room, 2727 Joan Avenue. For more information, visit the Pops Pig Pickin' Charity Barbecue event page on Facebook. Sponsored by Team MVP, the Break Room Sports Bar, and ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good Thursday morning. I'm forecasting another nice fall autumn day today. Mostly sunny in the mid-80s and light northwest winds. Mostly clear overnight in the low 60s. Friday's going to be mostly sunny in the mid-80s. Water temperature in the Gulf of Mexico is 81 degrees. This weather forecast has been brought to you by KHS and Associates, your source for affordable health insurance. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Is that the sound of an ooey gooey, cheesy, crunchy slice of P-I-Z-Z-A? Obviously. But as good as that sounds, we think it can get even better. Oh, yeah, that's the sound of a freshly opened fizz-filled Pepsi. The only thing that can take this flavor medley of crunchy dough, mouth-watering cheese, and savory sauce to the next level. How about another bite? Pepsi and pizza sound like a match made in heaven and taste even better. Pizza, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Now you can interact with the Coach James Hale Show live in the J. Michaels Studios. Download the new 104.3 ESPN app at the Apple Store and Google Play. Now back to the Coach James Hale Show, powered by Pepsi. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Back here, Coach James Hale Show. Without Coach Hale, we kicked him out. We're in charge now.
It's party time.
Coach Hale's actually, we think, I'm not going to make any promises, we think he's going to be calling us later to make his picks that he'll soon walk back and change.
We'll wake him up.
Yeah, exactly. But, hey, it's like we always talk about. It's not who casts the votes, it's who counts them.
Well, and he's got the last 2 weeks, so I'm not feeling good about my
all of a sudden he's going to be in the lead by about 5 games. So, all right. Well, anyway, let's talk a little FSU. But before we do that, let's make sure and note that the Florida State Update every morning is brought to you by Newbies, all the Newbies properties across Panama City Beach. We got the mothership. They've got the best bands anywhere you're going to find down here every weekend. Newbies 2 on the Curve is a great place to go watch all sporting events. You can go watch the FSU game out there. And then, of course, the Booze and Brew right there on Front Beach Road. Great place to have a little get-together, little reunions, things like that. All of the Newbies properties, you will have a wonderful time. They are legendary down here. And John and Charlotte do so much to help out. Get out and support Newbies and thank them for the FSU update. Well, let's talk a couple of things across the athletic department here first. And then we're going to jump into the football game. It's a big one. This is that 3-game stretch. It's pretty darn tough. Unfortunately, FSU came up on the wrong end of the first part of that stretch. But looking over at basketball, it's just around the corner. John knows that well, being a big Blue fan.
Oh, yeah.
But basketball, unfortunately, forward Jalen Gainey. Now, he was a transfer in from Brown, 6'2", 220-pound forward. It sounds like a tight end or something there. But Jalen Gainey is going to be out for the season with an undisclosed knee injury. So hate to hear that. Certainly before the season, guy transfers to an ACC school, looking forward to playing, and just not going to happen this year for him. So we hope that his recovery goes better, and we'll see him on the floor for the Seminoles next season. Safety, Jamie Robinson, was named the ACC Defensive Back of the Week for his efforts against Wake Forest. He had 13 tackles and 1 quarterback hurry in the game this weekend. So congratulations to Jamie Robinson. Now, looking ahead at the game Saturday, and the game is going to be 7 p.m., another night game for FSU, 7 p.m. Central, I believe, 8 p.m. Eastern. FSU going on the road to play in Raleigh up there at NC State. NC State ranked 14th in the country, themselves coming off a tough loss against Clemson. NC State has a 13-game home winning streak. In fact, they have not lost at home since November 6th of 2020. So that's pretty impressive there. Let's look at some of the historical stuff, then we'll get into the matchups a little bit. FSU leads the all-time series 27-15. However, FSU has lost 4 of the last 5 against the Wolfpack. NC State is returning 10 starters on defense. They've got a solid defensive crew. In fact, they're only giving up 15.4 points per game. That's 19th in the country. They're only giving up 280 yards per game. That's 15th in the country. 94 of those yards are coming on the ground, 185 through the air. Think about college football in this day and age, only giving up 185 yards passing a game. Opponents are 28.6% on third downs against NC State. That's 22nd in the country. NC State is taking the ball away. They've only gotten 2 fumble recoveries, but 7 interceptions already this year. This is a ball-hawking defense. Now, the one good bit of note is that when teams get to the red zone against NC State, they've actually scored on all 9 visits. The downside to that, there's only been 9 visits to the red zone. In fact, they're 8th in the country in lowest number of total red zone visits by appointments or by opponents. So if you can get inside the 20, you're in good shape. And that's good news for Florida State, who has struggled this year in the red zone. But you got to get there first. Offensively, not quite as powerful. They have 17 passes of over 20 yards this year, but again, overall, 384 yards per game, 132 coming on the ground, 251 through the air. NC State is only 45% on third down offensively. Now, they're scoring on 83.3% of their red zone visits, but 14 of their last 15. Their quarterback is Devin Leary, experienced guy, good quarterback. The key to this game in the last 8 years, NC State has jumped on FSU early. In the last 8 years, in the last 8 games, NC State has outscored Florida State in the first quarter 82-17. Now, Florida State's been pretty good in the first quarter this year. They've gone down and scored. They did it last week. They went and scored on the first drive. They're going to need to do that So the only good notes, I think, when you get into the red zone, you got a good shot. And NC State is penalized a lot. They have 7 penalties for 63 yards per game in penalties. So, obviously, FSU, this 3-game stretch, Wake Forest, NC State, Clemson. This is the road game. Tough team to play, but you don't want to lose 2 in a row going into Clemson. What does FSU need to do to get this done?
So this is a bounce-back game for somebody.
Right.
And I think FSU has to take the us against the world mentality and leave behind the disappointment of last week.
Yep.
Who's more disappointed and who's going to let the team that beat them last week beat them again this week? I think that's the question. Can FSU shake Wake Forest or can NC State shake Clemson? Because both of them had high hopes, and they both have to get over that because now they've got a big game that's going to set the trajectory for the rest of their season. You dig into NC State a little bit, great stats. However, Charleston Southern, UConn, there's one quality game out there, and that's Texas Tech if you're buying the Red Raiders. Now, great matchup. They won at home. Kudos to them for playing, Big 12, ACC, all that. But this is going to be probably the second toughest team behind Clemson that NC State has seen. I would probably take the Noles over Tech if they were to play one another. So, tough environment. Carter Finley, tough place to play. NC State has owned FSU recently. And so I think you have to talk up those pieces that get into the psyche of these players to help them not lose to Wake Forest again in the NC State uniforms.
Yeah.
No, I think Jerry's right on the money. It's NC State, they're a good team, but how much of this is the hype of the team from last year that they're still ranked this high? Because they haven't played anybody other than Clemson. And yes, the score was 30-20, but really NC State didn't look that good. And Clemson's not offensively like a juggernaut. So I really think Florida State, I think they really have a good shot at this game. And I think if you really look at that Wake Forest game, man, they had that game. They were, to me, the better team. They just missed so many tackles on key third downs that I think just hurt them. And I think it's like, it's just little things like that, listen, as we make a few tackles here and there, we're undefeated going into this game. And I think that's the way they need to look at it. And I think Norvell, I think like Jeremy said, I think it's an easier time mentally to shake that Wake Forest loss when you talk to the team than it is to look at the NC State team and try to tell them, like, hey, we wanted to be champions of the Atlantic. Now we don't have a shot because we lost to Clemson. I think that one's going to hang over their head a little bit more. Yeah. Now, it is at home, so I think that's a little bit tougher, obviously, for FSU to go into their place and do it. But I really think that if they can play better make tackles defensively, and then I think Jordan Travis just doesn't get cold in the second and third quarter. I mean, I think they really have a shot this game.
And I agree. I think whichever team can shrug off the disappointment of the loss is going to be key. But here's what I like if I'm FSU. The teams that FSU is going to struggle with, to me, are the very prolific offenses where it's just a shootout. That was Wake Forest. I don't think that's NC State.
Yeah.
So in that respect, FSU in a close ball game, I like them because they've had to win a few key close ball games this year. by the skin of their teeth against LSU with a big extra point block.
Yeah.
But that matters. And the more guys get into close situations and come out on top, the more comfortable they are when that situation arrives again. So if I'm FSU, seeing NC State, yeah, it's a tough road team. This is a good ball team, but a team that's not going to run away and maybe leave me in the dust like Wake could do. I think I feel a little bit better maybe about that than I would if I were playing a Wake Forest again. So.
Yeah, you know, FSU opened week 1 in a very hostile environment. I mean, neutral site 50-50, but that was that was the LSU home game.
Sure.
So they've been there, and I think they can do it again. I'm seeing improvement with Florida State. You know, Norvell's doing a great job of building it. I know there's disappointment, but you know, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose, and that one just got away from them. So I feel like the Noles should do well Saturday night at NC State.
Well, we're going to be pulling for them here. Absolutely right. Well, let's talk about some more of our great sponsors here. Don't forget, everybody, you know, nobody loves the Seminoles more than Dr. John Ward, a dermatology specialist. That's a joke, of course, being the gator that he is. But Dr. Ward will appreciate that. If you've got any kind of issue with your skin, something doesn't look right, something doesn't feel right, don't wait and become a skin cancer statistic. Get out and see Dr. Ward. If you can hear us right now, he's got an office near you. They've got 7 or 8 offices all along this area right here on the Emerald Coast. So get out and see Dr. Ward, dermatology specialist. Paparazzi, Gourmet Deli. Let me tell you something. If you're looking for a great pizza, great Italian food, great bakery with desserts for your football weekend, get out and see Big John down there at Paparazzi Gourmet Deli. 3 restaurants in one. You will absolutely love it. And after a weekend of Paparazzi Gourmet Deli, you may need to go visit Jason Kovaleski at Max Fit Sports Nutrition. He's got great products there for you to try, and you can try them before you buy them. Most places won't let you do that. Jason will. Very knowledgeable, great stuff to make you look better, feel better. You want to get bigger, stronger, faster? Get out to Pier Park North. Talk to Jason Kovaleski at Max Fit Sports Nutrition. Well, Coach Hale may be gone, but the Alabama fans are still here. We've got the Alabama Update, everybody's favorite segment. Ethan loves it. Everybody's favorite segment here on the Coach James Hale Show when we get back. 101.9 Port St. Joe, 102.1 Mariana, and don't forget 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Bigger and better than ever. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida has your chance to win a trip of a lifetime again. We just sent Ron to see the Atlanta Braves at beautiful Truist Park.
Thank you so much.
Next, we're sending you to the SEC Championship game.
It's an awesome experience.
Saturday, December 3rd at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the ATL. For more details, keep listening to ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good Thursday morning. I'm forecasting another nice fall autumn day today. Mostly sunny in the mid-80s and light northwest winds. Mostly clear overnight in the low 60s. Friday's going to be mostly sunny in the mid-80s. Water temperature in the Gulf of Mexico is 81 degrees. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Game days are always better at Dave & Buster's. That's because more TV inches, more food and drinks, more space, and more fun make the game we all know and love more special. Nothing beats seeing your favorite team take the field on the 2 12-foot big screens or 26 75-inch TVs. Throw in the arcade experience and you've got a winning atmosphere that no other sports bar can deliver. Follow the fun at Dave & Buster's, Panama City Beach on Facebook and Instagram. Eat, drink, play, and watch sports at Dave & Buster's.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, powered by Pepsi, ESPN Northwest Florida.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies, as well as new and vintage cards. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf Cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 633 North Highway 231 and can also be reached at instantReplaySportsCards.com.
Put down your natural light. It's time for the Alabama Update. The Alabama Update, weekday mornings at 8. On the Coach James Hale Show at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Roll! Come on, Ethan, roll! Tide, roll!
We'll dub Ethan in later.
That's for Michigan Eddie, whose phone must not be working this morning, and gratefully so. Alabama Update brought to you every morning here on the Coach James Hale Show by Steverson Air Conditioning. I'll tell you what, we've got beautiful natural air conditioning going right now, but it's going to start getting colder here soon. You're going to need Steverson for those heaters. And Steverson Air Conditioning, they are the absolute best anywhere around this area. You have any kind of issues, call those guys. Get a new unit, get it serviced. Steverson Air Conditioning is your answer. Jeremy, what do you have for us on the Tide going into this big game against A&M?
We're paging Dr. Chad Mitchell
Yes,
to see
we
about
are.
What a shoulder sprain looks like. What does it mean for us? Because that is the question, not only for this Saturday, but really for the rest of the season. Because if there are aspirations for this Alabama team, they hinge on the shoulder of Bryce Young.
Yes.
I don't think as much talent as Milroe and Simpson have, you could make a run with the schedule that would be in front of you if they have to carry the water.
Agreed.
That is still a day-to-day question. Saban, as we would totally expect, being very coy as to whether Young will play or Milroe will play or even Simpson will take some snaps. And I think the sense of A&M is they are a little down. They are reeling, and if I'm looking at it, I think Milroe's under center to start the game, and Young's on the bench, and if that can suffice to get to next week with the trip to Rocky Top, that's the game plan. But we'll see. Young's a competitor, and this is a team that beat Alabama last year, and it's the biggest game of the year. If you were looking, several weeks ago, this was the one everybody had circled. And you can see that based on just the number of recruits coming into town. 4 5-stars, including Texas commit Derek Williams, will be on the sidelines watching. 5 2023 commits, including Eli Holstein, be in town. 4
Ethan remembers him.
Yeah. 4 2023 targets that are committed elsewhere.
All right. Happy Flipmas.
Yes. As well as 5 2024 targets that include 2 commits. So
it's going to be a lot of disappointing recruits when Alabama loses this game.
Good Lord, I almost spit my drink out.
So Saturday night under the lights, Bryant Denny, a lot of eyes on what will happen, and a lot of kids will be making decisions about their future. So you can imagine they're rolling out the crimson carpet for them. Saban in his presser yesterday, he had exactly what he wanted again this week, no different than the Texas game. Had a win with things to work on.
Yeah.
And he said playing with intensity for the entire game. That third quarter lapse would be insurmountable for others. The players have responded well to Milroe's leadership, which to me is kind of a tipping of the cap that Milroe will likely start.
Yeah.
Offensive line showing signs of playing with more physicality. I think toward the fourth quarter, the fourth quarter training program showed up. Yes, they broke long runs, but they broke long runs because there was nobody in the way to stop them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
They were all pressed on the line, absolutely.
Pushed them down. He is impressed, as we've talked about, A&M's size and speed and physicality. The recruits are there, and it's just a matter of what A&M does on their side of the ball. no deep plays on Kool-Aid McKinstry or Terrion Arnold. He gave praise to them. He said that as far as the defense goes, and Ethan, to your points here around how the offense open ups, A&M is good at creating the mismatches out of the backfield. So, if you can get the running back where you want them on maybe a linebacker in space, wide side, that'll open up some things to the passing game. Alabama does not need to give away free yards and free first downs and extend series. We are third in the nation behind Virginia Tech and Oregon for penalties per game, and that showed up on Saturday. Down the stretch, that could really make a difference, but it could make a difference Saturday night if you have the late hit. There's been some chippiness between the programs, and there's always that first couple of series where they're out there trying to kind of establish dominance in the game, and somebody decides to take a shot, late hit, on the pile, you name it. They've got to dial that back. And it's been very uncharacteristic of Saban programs to see those type plays.
Well, and it's the older guys, too. Like To'o had an inexcusable penalty. And that guy is as veteran as there is.
Yeah, and Will Anderson, like against Texas, I mean, wow. So since we're moving into the month of October, there's a little article that I was going to toss out just for fun. We've kind of dissected the A&M game a little bit. We've got a caller? Okay.
Let's go on and take this caller. Caller, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. What you got for us?
Well, I'm not an A&M fan. In fact, after what Jimbo did at FSU, I'm not a fan. But I think everybody is kind of throwing him under the bus a little bit, probably accusing him of having this wonderful recruiting situation. I think that's going to help him next year. This incredible best of all time recruiting class was this past year, and all those are true freshmen.
Right.
Very few of those are playing right now. And listen, I'm not a fan of much about him at all, but I think they need to cut him a little slack, and he ought to keep his mouth shut. But beyond that, I think their time to shine is going to be the next 2 years if he can keep his job that long.
Yeah, I think that's right. I know we talked in the preseason. I know Ethan and Jeremy and everybody here, we talked about the fact that, A&M wants to do well this year, but next year is kind of the year.
Yeah.
And that's why the Connor Wegman question is so important, I think, because he could be the guy.
I agree with you, but I think most of the media and most people making comments, whoa, $95 million a year, look at what he's doing. And yes, he's had some good recruiting classes, but the truly number one best of all time was this past year, and those kids aren't playing yet.
That was
all I had.
That's true, and thanks for the call. I appreciate it. If I were Jimbo Fisher and I got the questions about $95 million, I think what I would do is say, hey, anybody talk to Mel Tucker lately? I'd remind people that Mel's having it a little rougher for his $95 million than Jimbo is. Well, Jeremy, let me ask you this. Is this look, we all know what happened in the offseason, and players have talked about it. It's not just Saban and Jimbo. The players have been asked about this. Based on everything we heard in the offseason leading up to this game, all the hype that there's been, media-driven, but hype, and the fact of what you just said about Alabama being undisciplined, is this a case where Saban, Golding, the defensive crew especially, needs to tell people maybe you need to dial it back a little bit, not come out too hype, because we've seen that wreck games before.
Absolutely. The first 10 minutes of a ball game are really based on so much emotion and energy, and then you settle into the game. And if I'm Alabama and I get the choice to take the ball, I'm going to take the ball and try to put the pressure on versus sending that defense out there where you might find yourself in the hole. I just go ahead and take it to that A&M defense. So that would be my first move. Second part is maybe play a little more play safe versus sending, the house.
Overcommitting, jumping a route, things like that, where you can get burned.
Keep them in front of you.
Play.
Absolutely, particularly if you can start them on the 25. If you do have to give them the ball first, just play in the prevent. play a nickel package, keep them in front of you, get them off the field, and see how that works. All the X's and O's will kind of be revealed pretty quick. Young, whether he plays or not, will quickly determine the type of game we're going to look at, because it very well could be the murder ball type thing where we get to see Jamar Gibbs until he's getting oxygen on the side. They did that against Ole Miss last year, and that game was rather uneventful. Alabama was so much bigger, they pushed Ole Miss around, they ran out the clock, and moved on to next week. That wouldn't hurt Saban's feelings a bit. He just wants the W and get on to Knoxville.
I'm curious, the loudest yell Saturday night, will it be for when Bear speaks on the Jumbotron, or if number 9 trots out for that first series?
If he comes under center, it's on.
It'll be loud in that stadium.
That's exactly right.
Coach Hale will be one of them, that's for sure. He's going to be up there. We're hoping to hear from him here in about 15 minutes for round 1 of his picks that he will, I'm sure, adjust 7 or 8 times before we get down to it. But want to thank Jeremy and thank Steverson Air Conditioning for our Alabama update today, brought to us every week by Steverson Air Conditioning. Like I said, if you need anything related to your air conditioning unit, get out and call Jason there at Steverson Air Conditioning and get it serviced. Also, thanks to our other sponsors, J. Michael's Restaurant, Blue Sky Express Car Wash, Dr. Chad Mitchell. He loves Alabama as well. Hopefully, like we said, hopefully he's up working on that shoulder there, Bryce Young, right now. And then Rudy's Barbecue, the A&M hangout this weekend.
That's where we're all going to be watching this.
Both of you?
Oh, ouch.
Ouch.
Well, I'll tell you, well, now I have to go out there and hang out for that too. But no, talk again real quick about your Cups for a Cause thing that you have going this month.
Yeah, so for basically the month of October, we take donations for basically for breast cancer awareness, and we have some local charities, or charities, I guess, nationwide, but really our special ones here in Northwest Florida. It's called For Her. It's based out of kind of like the Rosemary Beach area. And so all of our donations will go to them, and then we'll also take some from obviously some of our Texas stores. But basically we turn our large cup, we turn it to pink, and basically if you donate, you get a free large drink with your meal. So,
awesome.
But we're trying to raise money for breast cancer awareness and help out some local charities here in Northwest Florida.
Absolutely right. Well, when we get back, we're going to talk some Auburn football. Big trip for Auburn this weekend, playing the South's oldest rivalry. Hope it goes well, but I don't know. It might be a little reminiscent of Mosley's bonfire last night. But we're going to talk about that next here on the Coach James Hale Show. 102.1 Mariana, 101.9 Port St. Joe, and 104.3 ESPN, Northwest Florida.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. College football lives here. The rivalries, the tradition, and the biggest fans. Listen live in a rich audio experience you can only hear on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida and the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
Sponsored locally by PCB Coins and Cards, the Patch Boys of Panama City, and Jin Jin Super King Buffet.
Good Thursday morning. I'm forecasting another nice fall autumn day today. Mostly sunny in the mid-80s and light northwest winds. Mostly clear overnight in the low 60s. Friday's going to be mostly sunny in the mid-80s. Water temperature in the Gulf of Mexico is 81 degrees. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
It's time to let the fall adventures begin in a new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Now offering 3.49% up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2022 Kia Sorento. You can expand your horizons and write your next chapter with confidence in the outgoing and adventurous 2022 Kia Sorento. that has the perfect balance of comfort, safety, performance, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. We make buying a car easy and will give you the peace of mind you can trust.
Offer from KMF for the purchase of a new 2022 Sorento with $22.36 per month per 1,000 financed in 48 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Can be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 10/31/22.
Tiger fans, join us weekday mornings at 8:15. It's the Bay Point Golf Auburn Update on the Coach James Hale Show at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Whoa, Eagle. Hey. Auburn update. I'd rattle through the names, but I don't remember them all. Auburn update brought to you every day here on the Coach James Hale Show by Ryan Mulvey at Bay Point Golf. Let me tell you, what a golfing day today is going to be. Beautiful weather, light breeze. That just shows you how far I'll miss the fairway on my own. I can't blame it on the wind, but absolutely great. And if you want to play golf in this area, there is nowhere you need to play except Bay Point. Beautiful course out there. Ryan and the crew do a wonderful, wonderful job. And then afterwards, you can head over to Bar 72 or whatever it is. I can't. Coach always calls it the wrong thing.
A lot of things going on up there at Bay Point.
And we need to
they do.
Bingo.
They do.
Need to give a shout out to Ryan on his volleyball coaching prowess.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
he coaches every darn sport.
Well, his daughter's playing in the league we've got running at the church. And he was opposite the court, even with his dad on the court Tuesday night. So
he'll
be back at it tonight over at First Methodist. So
good old Coach Mulvey.
Coach Mulvey.
All right. Well, he loves the Auburn Tigers. And, Auburn, look, it's been a tough season. It was a brutal off season. And obviously that's going to be the discussion coming out of this because this is a rough trip. But let's talk about a few other things. Then we're going to dive deep into this game, much to maybe some Auburn fan chagrin. Linebacker Cam Riley is going to be back and available for the Georgia game. Now, that's good news. He just missed the game against LSU, and with Auburn's depth issues, you certainly can't be down any players. Junior, out of Evergreen, he's 6'5", 230. As a linebacker, he plays opposite Owen Papo there. He's had 31 tackles through the first 4 games. So, obviously, a key player for Auburn. Cam Riley is expected to be back and playing this weekend against Georgia. So that is good news. More good news for Auburn. Theoretically, we'll see. One of the top 2024 prospects in the state of Alabama. He's a 4-star player. He's ranked number 12 in the state of Alabama, which is always loaded for talent, is cornerback, defensive back, Amon Lane. He's actually, most of the story I read on AL.com had it talking about transferring high schools, which nowadays is common as transferring colleges. But they did ask him because he's an Auburn commit, and they asked him a little bit about coaching situation and if that's changed anything. And he says, look, I'm going to be honest. I didn't commit to the coach. I committed to the school. He goes, if it's in God's will, I'll be at Auburn. So that's good news for Auburn fans. Of course, nothing's been signed yet. We know how that goes. But I did like that's the way you want people to think about it. You're committing to the school, not to the coach, because, look, this is a profession for the coaches. And, if opportunities arise for them, positively or negatively, they may not be there. And you need to know that when you make your decisions. He's also being looked at by Tennessee, Ole Miss, Clemson, among others. So the hunt's still going to be on for him. Don't be surprised if maybe Nick announces he's going to be at the game this Saturday, too, based on that list you gave us earlier. But Amon Lane reiterated his commitment to Auburn University. So let's get into the game this week. Obviously, Georgia's a huge favorite. I think it's darn near 30 points at this point. They're in Athens. It's a huge rivalry game. Auburn coming off a loss where they had it. I didn't see it coming. I thought LSU was going to jump all over them. Auburn gets out early. It's almost worse because they let it slip through their fingers and lose that game. Georgia, on the other hand, coming off a game where they came out flat, made every mistake possible, should have gone down on the road to Missouri. But
a team Auburn has a victory over.
Yeah, absolutely. Although Missouri did everything to give that game away as well.
Hey, truly.
So, if I'm an Auburn fan, I think I would have felt better about this game had Georgia just boat raced Missouri.
Yeah.
Because then they're, riding high confidence, looking past kind of what happened with Georgia going into Missouri, maybe. I think Georgia's going to be mad. I think Georgia's upset that they've dropped to number 2. I think they're looking to make a statement. And unfortunately, I think it's against an Auburn team that might be down a little bit. Look, they hear everything we hear.
Yes.
And I don't know. This just sounds like a recipe. I hate to be so negative. This sounds like a recipe for disaster for Auburn. Am I wrong here?
So if you get a 42-0 type of game, does Harsin make the weekend?
I don't think so. I've always thought, look, I've made it very clear for months. I like Brian Harsin. I think he's a great coach. I actually think he's a good fit. I don't think he's been allowed to be, and what happened in the offseason completely ruined it. I think this thing is already over. It's a matter of when. I've always thought this would be the weekend coming out of this game because I think Georgia's going to get it done. So, no, if they get beat like that, no, he's not the coach on Monday.
Yeah. Kent State kind of shocked everybody that they kept Georgia, close. Missouri last week, clearly, we're seeing some chinks in the armor, if you will. And every season's different, every team is different. But Georgia's carrying that target of being the defending national champion. I think there's also this piece that's creeping into the sport like it did back in the Bowden era of when Bobby would just totally dismantle a team. Yeah. And a win 35-27 was looked at in a negative light because you wanted 70-3 against Tulane. Yeah. And that's bad. You ask any team, they would rather win ugly by 1 than lose pretty. And so Georgia won. That's the key point.
Yes.
And so in this sort of survive and advance, looking at 4 spots that you're going to try to secure, you've got a much better chance as long as that 0 stays in the L column. Georgia will get it done. Auburn has the game against Missouri where truly nobody wanted to win. I mean, that was bad football. We set the sport back with that game.
That was awful.
And it's that second half that is becoming problematic for Harsin and Auburn, and that fan base has no tolerance for seeing these collapses.
Right.
Is it a confidence matter? I don't know. I mean, Alabama under the Shula era could play with anybody for 3.5 quarters. Yep. But they did not have the confidence to feel like they could finish a ball game.
Right.
Texas is going through the same thing. When we were sitting in the stadium there watching that game, and Texas is up, there was no sense of, we're about to take down Alabama. There was,
how are we going to mess this up?
How are we going to mess it up?
It's the way I felt watching the Georgia-Missouri game.
Mm-hmm.
Everything pointed to Missouri hanging on, and I'm looking at it going,
not going to happen.
I think Georgia's going to win this game. I feel pretty good about it.
Right, and that gets more into the psyche of the team, and that's the problem you're bumping into.
Well, and if you look at it, you look at the last 2 years, other than the Georgia game last year, in the biggest games, Auburn comes out really ready and focused. Look at the LSU game. Look at the Alabama game last year. And you're exactly right. That last half of the fourth quarter, I don't know if they run out of gas. I don't know if the depth is the issue. I don't know if the focus, the confidence, it just seems to get them. And, you would obviously hope that would happen here where they could at least, make it a competitive game. I think that's important. I don't think even the most ardent Auburn fan thinks a victory here is very likely. But I do think they expect Auburn to be competitive and play Georgia tough. Mm-hmm. And so if they can get out to that early run like they did against LSU, maybe, but...
Old Mo is a fickle thing.
And it changes quickly. 175-yard run changed it big last week. I mean, It's amazing. That game turned on a dime.
Did it?
Last week, and we see it in all these games going back and forth. I mean, Auburn was moving the ball really well, and then one little strip, which was a phenomenal personal play.
The scoop and score.
I mean, it just completely changes that game. So if Auburn's going to win this game, Ethan, what's the key? What's got to happen?
I mean, I think it would be
Georgia get lost on the way to the stadium.
Yeah,
okay.
preferably. I mean, I would think it had to be ball control. You know what I mean? Ashford comes in, he does the offense line does a good job, gets him a good push. Bigsby can run the ball, Ashford can run the ball, and there, obviously no turnovers. But I think, like you said, I think you get the feeling that Georgia's going to come out there with a big chip on their shoulder, like y'all really, no one's giving us any respect just because we had a close game against Missouri on the road in the SEC. Which, I mean, as Kirby said, I mean, every SEC game, it's hard. I mean, Missouri's not. I mean, they're in the SEC for a reason.
Always been.
And when you're at the top of the league, you're going to get everybody's best.
You are.
When the calendar flips and it's Kent State week,
right?
On Monday, you're probably not as focused as when the calendar flips and here comes Georgia to town.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
No, 100%. So I don't know, but it is kind of lining up where Georgia's going to come out and just play this just a very, very good game because they've had 2 bad weeks in a row.
Yeah, I really hope Auburn puts up a good showing here. I'm not seeing a lot to tell me they will. I've got a prediction I'm going to make, though, here. I think, in a way, I hope I'm wrong about this. I think this is the game that Brock Bowers begins his Heisman, at least finalist push. I think he's such a difference maker. He reminds me on the offensive side of the ball of a Will Anderson. He's a unicorn.
He is.
And I think I can foresee this happening a lot in the way that the Devontae Smith thing took off about the middle of the year. So if I'm an Auburn fan, I'm a little worried about this, but I think Brock Bowers announces his intent. He didn't have a good game last week. He announces his intentions and has a huge game in front of a national audience.
Well, he's already got the ridiculous catch. This is highlight reel.
Yeah.
And Devontae had the one-arm catch against LSU, and that. Yeah, so he's got that signature shot.
And look, I'm gonna be in Biloxi this weekend, so I may try and make this a big windfall thing, which will ensure it doesn't happen. But anyway, that would be, again, I hope it doesn't happen. I really hope this is a good competitive game, but it's a rough place to go play if you're Auburn. Well, thanks again to Bay Point for sponsoring our Auburn update like they do every day. And don't forget about our other great sponsors here. El Rodeo Tequila, best Mexican place you're going to find anywhere down here. They've got some great specials, great food. You're going to love it down there at El Rodeo Tequila. Dr. John Ward, dermatology specialist. 1 in 5 develop skin cancer. Don't be the one. Get out and get it checked out early with Dr. John Ward. When we get back, it's what everybody is looking for. Vegas is going to change their lines based on the next 30 minutes because we've got our highly, highly professional picks of what's going to happen in college football this weekend. We may even get a phone call in the next segment. Who knows? Right here on the Coach James Hale Show, 101.9 Port St. Joe, 102.1 up in Mariana, and 104.3 ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Bigger and better than ever. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida has your chance to win a trip of a lifetime again. We just sent Ron to see the Atlanta Braves at beautiful Truist Park.
Thank you so much.
Next, we're sending you to the SEC Championship game.
It's an awesome experience.
Saturday, December 3rd at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the ATL. For more details, keep listening to ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hi folks, I'm Tracy with Tracy's Fine Jewelry and Coin and Bullion Reserves. It's our 50th anniversary celebration. You've trusted us for 50 years to bring you the largest selection at the lowest prices. And now we're going to save you even more with our 50th anniversary celebration. We're giving you 50% off certified diamonds, diamond engagement rings, and diamond bands, and 50% off diamond bracelets and earrings. 50 years of putting a sparkle on Bay County, Tracy's Fine Jewelry, and coin and bullion reserves. And you can take that to the bank.
Sykes Concrete has been in business in this area since 1947, and 3 generations later, they're still going strong. See Sykes Concrete for dirt, sand, rock, and concrete. They can handle any size job from the smallest to the largest. Sykes Concrete pays CDL truck drivers some of the highest wages in Bay County, making $50,000 to $75,000 a year, including holiday and vacation pay, plus health insurance. See Hugh Sykes at Sykes Concrete, 8030 Highway 77 on the right, just north of Southport Elementary School.
That boot store reminds you, football weather means colder weather can't be far off. Now's a great time to shop for those winter work coats, shirts, and shoes. Janice and Irene, along with the staff, welcome you to stop by and shop for the whole family at that boot store. Remember Joe's motto, always put Jesus first in your life. Open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 on Friday and Saturday. That boot store. Next to Bill Bird Kia on 15th Street, Panama City.
Broadcasting live from the Redneck Riviera. It's the Coach James Hale Show inside the J. Michaels Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.